My girlfriend took a break to find herself, slept with other men, and came back begging. But I said no, and what followed left her speechless. I've always thought of myself as a pretty level-headed guy. I'm 28, work in IT, have my own apartment, pay my bills on time, and I'm not out here trying to live like a TikTok influencer. I like stability, consistency. For 3 years, I thought I'd found that with my girlfriend, Emily. She's 26, works as a social media manager for a small fashion brand, and she's always had this energy about her. Like, she walks into a room and people notice without even realizing why. She was the type of person who could make friends at the grocery store checkout line. We weren't perfect, but who is? We had our routines. Friday night movie marathons, Sunday morning pancakes, the occasional weekend trip to the mountains or the beach. Our fights were small and rare, usually about me not noticing her haircuts or her spending too much time scrolling on her phone. That's why what happened still feels like someone swapped my life for an alternate version without warning. It started subtly. Little comments here and there. She'd say things like, I feel like I've lost touch with who I am. Do you ever wonder if we're just coasting? I need to figure out what really makes me happy. At first I brushed it off. People go through phases. Work was stressing her out, and she'd been comparing herself to all these Instagram travel couples who spend months in Bali, finding themselves and drinking neon-colored smoothies. Then one night, we were lying in bed, and she just blurted it out. Emily, I think we should take a break. Me. From what? Emily. From us. It felt like my stomach dropped through the mattress. She told me she needed space to figure herself out. She said she loved me, but she didn't know if she'd always been defining herself through me. She wanted to explore life on her own for a while. I asked her point blank if she wanted to break up. She said no, she just needed time apart, that we could revisit things later. I won't lie, part of me wanted to slam the door on the whole thing right there. But another part of me, the part that still pictured her in my future, told me to give her what she was asking for. So I agreed. We didn't talk about rules for the break. That's on me. I assumed, naively, that it meant no dating other people and take some space to reflect. She packed a bag the next day and went to stay with a friend. The first week was brutal. My apartment felt like it was echoing. Every corner had something of hers. An abandoned coffee mug, a hair tie, her favorite hoodie draped over the couch. I threw myself into distractions. I started going to the gym more, picked up an online certification course for work, went out with my friends a little more. Meanwhile, Emily was very active on social media. Her Instagram stories turned into a highlight reel of wine nights, rooftop bars, and yoga classes. The captions were full of self-love and choosing yourself first mantras. One post had a picture of her at a music festival with some people I didn't recognize. The caption, living without constraints. I told myself not to read into it, but I'd be lying if I said my brain didn't run wild with possibilities. About a month in, I was grabbing coffee with my friend Ryan, who also knows Emily. We were catching up when he casually said, Hey, so I didn't want to make things weird, but I think I saw Emily at the Copper Bar the other night. She was with some guy, tall, beard, wearing one of those Patagonia vests, looked kind of cozy. I laughed it off, told him, we're on a break, so maybe it's nothing. But the truth? That comment stuck in my head like a splinter. That night, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if finding herself meant finding someone else. I told myself that whatever she was doing, I couldn't control it. All I could do was work on myself. Over the next few weeks, I actually started feeling better. I was sleeping better, eating cleaner, even getting compliments at work for looking more energized. I still missed her, but the constant ache was fading. I figured maybe we'd have a conversation in a month or two and see where we stood. Then, one random Tuesday afternoon, I got a text from her. Hey, can we grab coffee sometime this week? I've been thinking a lot about us. No emojis, no hope you're well. Just straight to the point. I stared at it for a while before replying, sure, when? We set it for Friday morning at a little cafe near my apartment. That Friday, she walked in looking like nothing had happened. Hair perfectly curled, wearing the scarf I'd bought her last Christmas. She smiled like we'd just seen each other yesterday, and in that moment, I realized I had no idea what was about to come out of her mouth. But something in my gut told me I wasn't going to like it. I remember walking into that cafe like it was a scene from one of those rom-coms I secretly hated because they felt too real sometimes. Emily was already there, sitting in the corner, scrolling on her phone. She looked up, saw me, and her face lit up in a way that made my chest tighten. A mix of familiarity and something else I couldn't quite place. Hey, she said, soft and casual. Hey, I replied, sliding into the seat across from her. The first few minutes were awkward. We talked about neutral things, work, mutual friends, some random news items, but my mind wasn't on any of that. It was on the pause button we'd put on our lives. Finally, I couldn't take it. I leaned back and asked the question I'd been dreading for weeks. So, during this break, did you see anyone? She froze for a moment. I could see her searching for words, twisting her straw in her iced latte, like she was trying to figure out if she should lie or tell the truth. Emily, I guess I did, but it wasn't serious. It was just, she trailed off, biting her lip. Me, just what? Emily, just casual. I mean, I wasn't with anyone emotionally, it was just exploring, I guess. Finding myself. I felt my stomach drop. You slept with other people, I said flatly. She looked down, ashamed but defensive at the same time. Emily, I needed to. I needed to know what I wanted, and I thought taking a break would give me clarity. I didn't want to hurt you, and I swear it didn't mean anything. The words hit me harder than anything physical ever could. I remember staring at her like she'd grown a second head. Me, it didn't mean anything? I asked, my voice quieter now, dangerously calm. You slept with other men, and it didn't mean anything? Emily, I know how it sounds, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled it away, but I realized that what I want, what I've always wanted, is you. I wanted to laugh, or cry, or scream, all at once. I took a deep breath. This was the moment, the turning point. Me, Emily, I can't be with someone who did this to me. Her face fell, her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I saw the shock there, the disbelief. Emily, wait, what? No, you don't understand? I made a mistake. I needed to figure things out. Me, I understand perfectly. You figured things out, about yourself and apparently about other people, but not about respecting me. And that changes everything. She started shaking her head, tears forming in the corners of her eyes. Emily, but I love you more than anyone. You're the one. I'm so sorry. Please, I'll do anything to make it right. I wanted to tell her it wasn't about punishment. I wanted to tell her that love isn't something you get to take back once you've thrown it away. Instead, I just sat there and said, calmly, me, no. Her face went pale. I could see the confusion and panic spreading across her features. She tried to argue, tried to negotiate, tried to guilt me. Emily, you're going to regret this. You'll see. You're throwing away what we had. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I knew what I was doing was right for me. I wasn't being cruel. I was protecting myself. She stormed out of the cafe, leaving behind a half-finished latte and a trail of heartbreak that belonged entirely to her. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the empty chair across from me. The realization hit me like a punch. The girl I thought I knew, the one I thought I loved and trusted completely, was gone. And in her place was someone who had made choices I couldn't forgive. I left the cafe and walked home in a daze. My phone buzzed incessantly. Texts, calls, social media messages, all from her. All varying between desperate apologies, manipulative guilt trips, and furious accusations that I was cold and heartless. I didn't respond. I couldn't. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't over. Far from it. She would try to get me back. She would try every trick she knew, and I was about to find out just how far someone would go when they realized they'd lost control. The story doesn't end here. In fact, it's only just beginning. The morning after Emily stormed out, my apartment felt emptier than ever. It wasn't just the absence of her presence, it was the weight of the truth pressing down on me. She had cheated. She had lied. And yet, in some twisted way, she expected me to forgive her just because she found herself. I didn't respond to her texts. I didn't pick up her calls. For the first time, I realized just how important boundaries were and how much I had to protect my own sanity. By noon, my phone was blowing up. Messages ranged from desperate apologies to manipulative guilt trips. I know I messed up, but you can't just throw us away. I love you. Please don't do this. I'll change. You're being heartless. I gave you everything. I kept my thumb off the screen. Every vibration felt like a small punch, but I knew reacting would only fuel the fire. It wasn't just her messaging me. Mutual friends started asking questions, clearly picking up on her social media posts. And social media, well, that was a minefield. She had posted a vague, heartbroken story hinting at someone leaving me despite everything I gave. I felt a sickening realization. She was spinning the narrative, painting herself as the victim. I reached out to my close friends, Ryan and Sophie, and told them everything. For the first time, I felt some relief. They didn't judge. They didn't try to convince me to forgive her. They listened, validated my feelings, and reassured me that my reaction, saying no, was the right one. Honestly, Ryan said, shaking his head, you're better off. She's manipulative. She's playing games, and you just stepped out before getting hurt any further. Sophie added, you've got to think about yourself first. She's already shown what she's capable of. Don't let guilt push you back into this. For the first time since the break, I felt clarity. I wasn't heartless. I was self-respecting. Over the next week, Emily escalated. She started sending long texts detailing how miserable she was without me. She posted more TikToks, now with a sad, romantic undertone, clearly aimed at catching my attention. I ignored everything, but it got worse. One night, around 11 p.m., there was a knock at my apartment door. My stomach sank. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door to find her, swaying slightly, holding a bottle of wine, eyes red and teary. Please, just let me in. I just want to talk, she slurred. I shook my head. No, you've done enough. She leaned against the doorframe, voice trembling. You'll regret this. You'll see. You're throwing away everything we had. I locked the door and walked away. That night, I realized she wasn't just sad. She was manipulative, trying to regain control. The next morning, I got texts from her friends and even from strangers commenting on her posts. Emily was painting me as the villain. I could feel it starting to affect our mutual social circle. I knew I had to act smart. I sent a group message to friends explaining the truth. Not to shame her, not to stir drama, but to clarify the facts. I simply stated, we were on a break. Emily saw other people. I decided I couldn't continue the relationship after learning this. That's all. The response surprised me. Friends sent messages of support. Some admitted they had suspected something during the break. Others said they were proud of me for standing firm. It felt like a small victory, but I knew this was far from over. Over the next few weeks, Emily tried every angle. Emotional manipulation, public sympathy posts, private messages, even showing up at places she knew I'd be. But I stayed calm, maintained boundaries, and documented interactions when necessary. I knew that whatever she tried next, I had to stay strong. I couldn't give in. Not for her, not for anyone. Yet, even as I focused on myself, a part of me wondered, how far would she go to get me back? And would standing my ground really be enough to make her see the consequences of her actions? By the time 2 months had passed since Emily stormed out of that cafe, I had settled into a new rhythm. Work kept me busy, my friends were supportive, and I'd even started picking up hobbies I had abandoned over the years. I was slowly reclaiming the part of myself I had lost in the haze of the relationship. But Emily wasn't done. She had moved from sporadic, desperate texts to full-blown essays of guilt and manipulation. Every message was a careful mixture of apology, flattery, and implied blame. I can't believe you just throw us away after everything. I gave you my heart. I've realized what I lost, and I'll do anything to fix this. Please, just one chance. You're being cruel. You don't even know what it's like to be without me. Ignoring them was harder than it should have been. I caught myself staring at the screen, wondering if maybe, just maybe, she had changed. But then I remembered the betrayal, the lies, the casual way she had slept with other men. And every time I remembered, my resolve strengthened. One Friday afternoon, I came home to find an envelope slipped under my door. My name was written in her familiar handwriting. Inside was a long, handwritten letter. She detailed her self-discovery, how she had realized I was the one she truly loved, and that sleeping with others had been a necessary mistake to appreciate our relationship. I read the letter twice. The first time, anger flared up. How could she so casually justify her actions? The second time, I felt pity. She still didn't understand the depth of what she had done or the damage she caused. I set the letter aside, untouched after reading. I wasn't ready to respond, and I wasn't going to. 2 weeks later, I was invited to a close friend's engagement party. It was the kind of celebration where everyone knows everyone, and I expected to see a lot of familiar faces. And then I saw her, Emily. She had dressed impeccably, looking like she owned the room. She spotted me instantly and made her way over, her expression a mix of determination and charm. Emily, can we talk? I stayed calm, keeping a polite distance. Me, not here. I'm here to celebrate with friends, not rehash the past. Her lips curled slightly into a smirk and she leaned closer, lowering her voice. Emily, I've changed. I'm not the same person. Just one chance, that's all I'm asking. I took a step back. No, I've moved on. Her expression shifted instantly. Shock, disbelief, and anger flashed across her face, and without another word, she walked away. Later that evening, my phone blew up. I was getting messages from a number I didn't recognize. It was her new boyfriend. Hey, she's been telling me you won't leave her alone. What's going on? I laughed bitterly. She had gone on to another relationship immediately after our confrontation and already tried to spin the story against me. I sent him screenshots of her desperate messages and documented encounters. Thanks, he replied. I believe you. She's clearly the problem. By the end of the night, I learned that her new relationship had crumbled almost immediately. Emily had manipulated and lied so much that she ended up losing him too. Walking home that night, I realized how different life felt without the weight of someone else's drama on my shoulders. I wasn't angry, I wasn't bitter, I was relieved. For the first time in years, I felt free. And yet, I knew Emily's story wasn't over. She still thought she could rewrite the past, but whatever she tried next, I was ready. Update 1. I thought I had put the worst behind me. After saying no, after watching her storm out and spin stories on social media, I had assumed that was the end of it. I couldn't have been more wrong. It started subtly at first. An innocent-looking text at 9 a.m. I can't stop thinking about you. I just need you back. I didn't reply. Then came the barrage of messages over the next few days, each more desperate than the last. She tried the guilt angle. I gave you my love, my heart, everything I had, and now you just throw it away? The pity angle. I'm miserable. I can't eat. I can't sleep. You're killing me by not forgiving me. The manipulative charm angle. I've changed. I'm not that person anymore. You just have to believe me. I read each one by one, and felt a flicker of anger mixed with sadness, but I didn't respond. Every message left unread was a small victory, a reminder that I wasn't going to let her manipulate me into something I didn't want. Emily was relentless. Her social media posts became increasingly targeted, despite being vague enough for plausible deniability. Sad quotes, heartbroken faces, and cryptic captions like, "Sometimes the person you love the most is the one who hurts you the worst." Mutual friends started noticing. I got messages like, "Hey, I saw Emily's story. Are you okay?" It wasn't just a concern, it was a subtle attempt to make me feel guilty. She wanted attention, sympathy, and a reaction. I decided to address it the only way I could, with transparency. I sent a group message to a few close mutual friends. We were on a break. Emily saw other people. I chose not to continue the relationship after learning this. That's the entire story. The responses I got were overwhelmingly supportive. Some admitted they suspected what had happened during the break. Others thanked me for clarifying before she spun more lies. Despite maintaining boundaries, Emily began showing up in places I frequented. Coffee shops, gyms, and even social gatherings. She wasn't subtle either. She would make eye contact, flash a charming smile, and approach as if nothing had happened. One evening, I was at a friend's birthday party when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned to see her. She had a flower in hand, dressed to perfection, looking like she walked straight out of a magazine. "Hey," she said, her voice soft and almost trembling. "Can we talk?" I stayed calm. I didn't flinch. "I'm here for friends and celebration. We don't need to talk," I replied, keeping my tone even. She tilted her head, almost playful, and whispered, "Just one chance, one conversation, please." I didn't respond. I walked away. She didn't follow, but the message was clear. Emily was escalating, testing my limits. The next week, I found a hand-delivered envelope under my door. Inside was a scrapbook filled with photos of our relationship, trips, selfies, candid moments. Alongside it was a long letter. She wrote about her self-discovery, how she realized she only truly loved me, and that sleeping with others had been a necessary mistake. I flipped through the scrapbook and read the letter. My heart tightened, but not for the reasons she hoped. She had not truly understood the gravity of her actions. She still framed it as a mistake of circumstance rather than an intentional betrayal. I left the scrapbook untouched in a drawer. I wasn't ready to respond, nor was I obligated to. Emily's manipulation started to backfire. A few friends who had been neutral began to see the pattern. One of them confronted me quietly. "She's trying to make it look like you're heartless, but I know the truth. Don't let her mess with your head." It was comforting. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't fighting this battle alone. Another friend suggested documenting everything, just in case her story spun out of control. I took that advice seriously. Screenshots, timestamps, social media posts, I logged everything meticulously. She began using indirect tactics now. Mutual friends started receiving messages from her about me, half-truths, insinuations, and outright lies designed to make me seem controlling or cold-hearted. I stayed silent. I noticed a pattern. The more I ignored her, the more extreme her action became. She wanted attention, she wanted sympathy, and she wanted control. At work, she sent me an email, short, cryptic, almost like a puzzle. "You'll regret it. One day, you'll see what you lost." I ignored it. I knew exactly what she was trying to do, make me doubt myself, make me feel guilty. But I refused to give her that power. A week later, a new message came from an unknown number. It was Emily's new boyfriend. "Hey, she's been telling me that you won't leave her alone. Is that true?" I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. She had already moved on and was spinning stories to her new partner. I replied calmly, sending screenshots of her desperate messages and documented interactions. His response was quick. "Thanks, I believe you. She's clearly the problem." By now, Emily's manipulations were beginning to collapse. She had lost the narrative and her new relationship had already fallen apart because of the lies she had spread. Sitting alone that night, I realized something important. Emily's attempts to control me were failing, not because I was lucky, but because I set boundaries and respected myself. For the first time in months, I felt peace. Not anger, not bitterness, just relief. But even as I felt that relief, I knew this wasn't the absolute end. Emily still thought she could reclaim me. She still thought her tears, gifts, and manipulations could bend me to her will, and that would be tested in the updates to come. Update 2. By the time Update 2 picks up, I had begun to truly accept the situation. Emily wasn't just manipulative, she was relentless, and she wasn't going to stop until she got some reaction from me. It started with a new kind of message, one that combined charm, guilt, and subtle threats all in one. "I've realized everything. I made a huge mistake. I chose you over them. You just have to let me back in." I read it, set my phone down, and reminded myself she was testing me. She wanted me to react, to crumble, but I didn't. Emily seemed to have developed a radar for my routines. She showed up at coffee shops I frequented, at the grocery store, even outside my gym. And it wasn't just coincidence. It was carefully orchestrated. One morning, I walked into my usual cafe to find her already seated, coffee in hand, looking casual but intense. She waved and smiled as if our last 2 months had never happened. "Can we talk?" she said, the words gentle but commanding. I paused, letting her see that I was calm, unbothered. "I'm here to work and get coffee. Nothing else," I said. She tilted her head almost playfully and whispered, "Just one conversation. You owe me that much." I shook my head and walked to the counter. I didn't owe her anything, not even a reaction. The next week, I found another letter slipped under my door. This time, it wasn't just words. It was a scrapbook of our past relationship. Photos, movie ticket stubs, tiny notes she had left in my apartment over the years. Alongside it was a handwritten note. "I've realized I was wrong. I only wanted you. I'll do anything to prove it. Please don't throw away what we had." Flipping through the scrapbook, I felt a strange mix of nostalgia and disappointment. Every memory was tainted by her betrayal. She still didn't understand the depth of what she had done. Her apology was another attempt at manipulation, a test to see if I'd fold. I set it aside without responding. Some friends noticed her behavior and reached out to make sure I was okay. A few told me they had seen her posting about me online, subtly framing herself as the victim. "Don't let her rewrite the story," Ryan said. "You're handling this the right way. Don't give her the satisfaction." I started documenting everything meticulously. Screenshots, timestamps, messages, social media posts. Emily's pattern was clear now, and I was determined not to let her distort reality. Then came the party, the final escalation. I had been invited to a close friend's engagement party. It was a lively event, full of people I knew well, and there she was. Emily walked in, scanning the room until she found me. Her expression was a mixture of determination, charm, and desperation. She made her way over. "Can we talk?" she said, calm but insistent. "Not here," I replied. "I'm here to celebrate, not rehash the past." Her lips curled into a slight smirk. "Just one chance, please," she whispered. I stayed calm. I told her, firmly, "No, I've moved on." Shock crossed her face. She didn't argue, didn't plead, just stared, then walked away. Later that night, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Emily's new boyfriend. "Hey, she's been telling me you won't leave her alone. Is that true?" I laughed quietly. She had already moved on and was spinning stories to her new partner. I sent him screenshots of all her desperate messages, her social media posts, everything. "Thanks. I believe you. She's clearly the problem." I didn't know if I should feel satisfaction or pity, but it was a small victory. Her manipulations were failing, and she had burned bridges with yet another person. A week later, she tried a final attempt. She showed up at my apartment holding a gift bag. Inside, more sentimental items from our past, including letters, small trinkets, and even a necklace I'd given her. "I just want closure," she said, her voice shaking. "I've changed. I'll never do anything like that again. Please." I looked at her, feeling no anger, just clarity. "You didn't lose me when you slept with them. You lost me when you decided I wasn't enough in the first place," I said. She didn't have a response. Her face went pale. She tried to speak, but no words came. Walking away from that encounter, I realized something profound. For the first time, I truly understood the importance of boundaries, self-respect, and clarity. She had tested me, pushed me, and tried every trick in the book, but I had stood firm. I wasn't bitter, I wasn't angry, I was relieved, free. And that's when I knew whatever happened next, I had won, not through revenge, not through manipulation, but by staying true to myself. Update 3. By the time Update 3 picks up, months had passed since Emily's last attempt at manipulation. The air between us had grown heavy with unspoken tension, and yet, for the first time, I felt an inner calm I hadn't known since the beginning of the break. I had learned a lot about myself over the past few months: patience, boundaries, self-respect, and it was about to pay off. One quiet evening, I received a text from her, different from all the others. No guilt, no charm, no pleading. Just, "Meet me, please. This is the last time I'm asking." I stared at the message, my heart rate slow and steady. For a brief moment, a flicker of curiosity passed through me, but I quickly reminded myself the game she was playing wasn't about love, it was about control. I decided to meet her, but not on her terms. We agreed on a public park, mid-afternoon, where other people were around. When she arrived, she looked different, less polished, less composed. Anxiety and desperation clung to her like a shadow. She approached carrying a small box. "I just want to explain," she said softly. I nodded, arms crossed, watching. "Go ahead," I said. She opened the box. Inside were small items from our past: letters, movie tickets, a keychain from a trip we had taken. She placed them gently on a bench as if presenting an offering. I finally get it. I see what I did wrong. I've realized that you were the one all along, and I threw it away. I'll do anything to make it right." I shook my head. "Emily, it's not about making it right. It's about understanding consequences. You chose a path that didn't respect me, and it led you here. There's nothing you can do to undo that." Her expression faltered. Words she had rehearsed vanished. She opened her mouth again, but no sound came out. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Exactly, I replied. That's the truth you need to accept. I forgive myself for loving you, but I cannot give you another chance. Her shoulders slumped. She looked at the items in the box, then back at me, and for the first time, I saw something genuine. Not manipulation, not charm, just acceptance of failure. I left the park that day lighter than I had been in years. I didn't feel bitterness or revenge. I felt freedom. Each step away from her was a step toward myself. Over the next few weeks, Emily faded from my life. No texts, no calls, no social media posts aimed at me. She finally stopped trying, and with her absence, peace settled in. I threw myself into my passions again. I traveled, explored new hobbies, and invested time in friendships that had endured the chaos. I dated casually, but cautiously, never rushing into anything serious. I had learned the value of emotional boundaries. One night, as I walked home from dinner with friends, I realized how far I had come. The man I was now wasn't defined by someone else's choices or betrayals. I was my own person, stronger, wiser, and more self-respecting. I didn't regret loving Emily. I regretted giving someone the power to hurt me without consequence. And now, I had taken that power back. I later learned through mutual friends that Emily's life had taken a series of rough turns. Her new relationships crumbled, her social circle began to distance themselves, and she had to face the consequences of her actions. She had learned, albeit the hard way, that manipulation and betrayal often lead to isolation. It wasn't satisfying to watch her struggle. It wasn't about revenge, but it was a reminder that people who choose deceit often face the outcomes of their choices. The story of Emily and me isn't just about betrayal, it's about boundaries, respect, and self-worth. I learned that love alone isn't enough. Mutual respect is mandatory. And when someone chooses to break that respect, it's okay, necessary even, to walk away. Sometimes closure doesn't come from confrontation. Sometimes it comes from simply saying no, standing firm and walking away while holding your head high. I learned that people will always test your limits, but your response defines your life. I chose clarity, peace, and self-respect, and that choice changed everything. Emily's attempts to regain me failed, not because I was better than her, but because I knew my worth. I realized that the ultimate victory wasn't proving her wrong or watching her struggle. It was reclaiming my own life. Looking back, the pain, the betrayal, the endless messages, it all led to one thing: growth, a stronger sense of self, a better understanding of what love should be. And for the first time in years, I felt truly free. By the time update 3 picks up, months had passed since Emily's last attempt at manipulation. The air between us had grown heavy with unspoken tension, and yet, for the first time, I felt an inner calm I hadn't known since the beginning of the break. I had learned a lot about myself over the past few months: patience, boundaries, self-respect, and it was about to pay off. One quiet evening, I received a text from her, different from all the others. No guilt, no charm, no pleading, just meet me, please. This is the last time I'm asking. I stared at the message, my heart rate slow and steady. For a brief moment, a flicker of curiosity passed through me, but I quickly reminded myself. The game she was playing wasn't about love, it was about control. I decided to meet her, but not on her terms. We agreed on a public park, mid-afternoon, where other people were around. When she arrived, she looked different, less polished, less composed. Anxiety and desperation clung to her like a shadow. She approached, carrying a small box. "I just want to explain," she said softly. I nodded, arms crossed, watching. "Go ahead," I said. She opened the box. Inside were small items from our past: letters, movie tickets, a keychain from a trip we had taken. She placed them gently on a bench as if presenting an offering. I finally get it. I see what I did wrong. I've realized that you were the one all along, and I threw it away. I'll do anything to make it right." I shook my head. "Emily, it's not about making it right. It's about understanding consequences. You chose a path that didn't respect me, and it led you here. There's nothing you can do to undo that." Her expression faltered. Words she had rehearsed vanished. She opened her mouth again, but no sound came out. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Exactly," I replied. "That's the truth you need to accept. I forgive myself for loving you, but I cannot give you another chance." Her shoulders slumped. She looked at the items in the box, then back at me, and for the first time, I saw something genuine. Not manipulation, not charm, just acceptance of failure. I left the park that day lighter than I had been in years. I didn't feel bitterness or revenge. I felt freedom. Each step away from her was a step toward myself. Over the next few weeks, Emily faded from my life. No texts, no calls, no social media posts aimed at me. She finally stopped trying, and with her absence, peace settled in. I threw myself into my passions again. I traveled, explored new hobbies, and invested time in friendships that had endured the chaos. I dated casually but cautiously, never rushing into anything serious. I had learned the value of emotional boundaries. One night, as I walked home from dinner with friends, I realized how far I had come. The man I was now wasn't defined by someone else's choices or betrayals. I was my own person, stronger, wiser, and more self-respecting. I didn't regret loving Emily. I regretted giving someone the power to hurt me without consequence, and now I had taken that power back. I later learned through mutual friends that Emily's life had taken a series of rough turns. Her new relationships crumbled, her social circle began to distance themselves, and she had to face the consequences of her actions. She had learned, albeit the hard way, that manipulation and betrayal often lead to isolation. It wasn't satisfying to watch her struggle. It wasn't about revenge, but it was a reminder that people who choose deceit often face the outcomes of their choices. The story of Emily and me isn't just about betrayal. It's about boundaries, respect, and self-worth. I learned that love alone isn't enough. Mutual respect is mandatory. And when someone chooses to break that respect, it's okay, necessary even, to walk away. Sometimes closure doesn't come from confrontation. Sometimes it comes from simply saying no, standing firm, and walking away while holding your head high. I learned that people will always test your limits, but your response defines your life. I chose clarity, peace, and self-respect, and that choice changed everything. Emily's attempts to regain me failed, not because I was better than her, but because I knew my worth. I realized that the ultimate victory wasn't proving her wrong or watching her struggle. It was reclaiming my own life. Looking back, the pain, the betrayal, the endless messages, it all led to one thing: growth, a stronger sense of self, a better understanding of what love should be. And for the first time in years, I felt truly free.